See, the thing is that when something like vaping comes out and it's marketed as being a safe alternative for this or that, people assume that it's true a lot of the time. Because there's no evidence to believe that it's unsafe. But when somebody says, well, I don't trust it, that still doesn't sound right. I mean, if it's just water, what's the catch? Oh, well, it's not water, it's actually oil. Okay, well, if it's just oil, maybe you shouldn't be putting oil in your lungs. Okay, maybe there's only a small amount of nicotine, but there's still some nicotine, and that's bad. If someone comes out and says, look, there's no proof that this is wrong, and it sounds safer than what we've been doing up till now, but maybe it's not a good idea, a lot of times those people are considered to be not logical, I guess. They're considered to be, well, you're worrying over nothing because there's no evidence that there's anything wrong with this. But there are two kind of ways that you can look at something new. You can look at it as a potential risk and avoid it, or you can look at it as, yes, maybe it's a risk, but there might be a benefit that's worth getting out of it, and so why not try it? And in and of themselves, both of those are good qualities, and they have their places. I think that Jordan Peterson talked a bit about how if you have someone who is really open towards trying new things and getting the benefit out of it, then there's great survival benefits because you can go exploring and you can find new food sources and things like that. But then you also have a higher risk of dying from eating a food that's poisonous or walking into a place where some wild animal can kill you. And then if you're the kind of person who's so afraid of taking risks that you don't go out and try new things, then you're more likely to run out of food sources or more likely to not have things to create tools you need to get by. So there's not really one thing that's better over the other. But for some reason, if you're the kind of person who says, I'm not going to take the chance, maybe you shouldn't take the chance either, then somehow that's seen as being unnecessarily worried. It's seen as being, well, you're just too skeptical and the science doesn't say that this or that thing is bad. But we keep finding out that things are bad. We found out earlier this year that baby powder has asbestos in it, right? And that's talcum powder. A large portion of makeup, the main ingredient, is also talcum powder, so that's pretty serious. And then the cigarettes were thought to be safe, but they're not. And then the insecticide, DDT, which people were not just putting in their wallpapers and spraying on children playing on the pools and the beach, but actually putting in their food, that turned out to be bad. Opioids turned out to be extremely addictive, which they were not addictive, and now vaping is turning out to have killed a couple of people. So why is it considered to be so irrational to think that something isn't safe just because there's no proof it's not safe? Now, I'm saying all this because I have a main point to make, and you're going to think I'm saying all this as part of some agenda, which I guess in some way is true, but I guess I want to talk about vaccines. Even if someone can't prove that vaccines are dangerous, which there's a lot of stuff out there, like it or not, there's a lot of stuff out there to show that vaccines are not nearly as safe as it's claimed that they are by government organizations and by the part of the scientific community that's mainstreamed. But even if there wasn't good evidence that vaccines were not safe, what is so awful about saying, there are a lot of man-made products that we thought were okay but turned out to be dangerous? So I think I want to be careful about giving this to my kid or taking it myself. What is so irrational and so wrong about saying, you know what, there might not be proof that this thing is dangerous, but I'm going to play it safe because maybe there are effects that we aren't seeing right away. Because if something can hurt even a small fraction of people that badly, odds are that it's hurting most people, just not to the same degree. And I think that parents who choose not to vaccinate should stop being demonized for questioning the safety of vaccines because it is perfectly rational and perfectly backed by history to decide that something that is claimed to be safe might turn out in the future to not be as safe as we previously thought it was. I mean, seriously. With vaping coming out now that's dangerous, which, come on, I was in high school when vaping started to get really popular, and I had so many people tell me that it was safe and that there was nothing dangerous about it whatsoever. And when I said, well, then what's the catch? Like, things that seem too good to be true usually are. And I think that any time something comes out where it turns out to not be as safe as we thought it was, you should make a mental note. You don't have to do anything about it right away, but don't brush it off. Remember that, because that's important. That's pretty much it. I probably repeated myself several times already, so I'll close it out here.